Ahoy mateys! Welcome to my channel. Today is January 13th, 2026 and it's 4:29 a.m. my time, pirate time. So I've been thinking, what would be the next best thing to do a video about? And one of the things I asked ChatGPT about was autonomy. What in the heck is this autonomy word that I read everywhere? What exactly does it mean? So I asked ChatGPT, could you please explain what autonomy means in this situation? I'm not even sure what it means and I keep reading it. Okay, welcome to my channel. I'm a mother of a 40-year-old adult developmentally disabled man whose day activity group decided to make a monthly strip club field trips into their itinerary, and I do not think it's safe. And I called all the places where you call to complain, to report abuses. That got me nowhere, except for more people telling me it's perfectly fine, and I do not think it's fine. It is definitely not fine for my son and a lot of his friends. Okay, so what autonomy is supposed to mean? At its core, autonomy means self-governance. In simple terms, autonomy means the ability to understand choices, make decisions about yourself, and accept the consequences of those decisions. In disability policy, autonomy usually refers to personal choice, self-direction, freedom from unnecessary control, being treated as an adult, not a child. So on paper, autonomy protects disabled adults from being locked away, being overly restricted, having every decision made for them, being denied ordinary life experiences just because of a disability. That part matters. Historically, people with disabilities were abused through the denial of autonomy. Now let's see where it gets misapplied. Where autonomy gets misapplied. Here's the critical part most policies gloss over. Autonomy assumes capacity, not perfection, but enough ability to understand what a choice actually involves, anticipate risk at a basic level, communicate distress or harm afterwards. When those pieces are missing or unreliable, autonomy becomes theatrical, not practical. Autonomy versus independence, they are not the same. This is where systems quietly confuse the issue. Independence, doing things alone. Autonomy, meaningful control over decisions. Autonomy versus independence. Autonomy versus independence, they are not the same. This is where systems quietly confuse the issue. Independence equals doing things alone. Autonomy equals meaningful control over decisions. A person can be dependent but still have autonomy, be independent but lack true autonomy. My son relies on others for care, structure, and supervision, and he still deserves respect and dignity. I feel like what they're doing is taking away his dignity. But autonomy does not mean exposure to environments he cannot safely interpret or report afterwards. The missing piece, post-event capacity. This is the important part. Here is the question providers almost never ask. If something goes wrong, can this person tell us? Autonomy only works when harm can be recognized, harm can be reported, and consent can be withdrawn in the future. If a person cannot reliably do these things, then autonomy without protection becomes abandonment, not empowerment. That's the ethical failure. Why parents see the problem instantly. Parents aren't confused because they're controlling. Parents understand their child's communication limits, their child's suggestibility, their child's inability to describe complex situations, their child's tendency to agree to please others, their child's fear of authority figures. My son has respect for authority figures. So when parents say, this environment is not safe for my child, that is not an attack on autonomy. That is risk assessment informed by lived knowledge. How agencies use the word autonomy. In practice, autonomy often becomes a liability shield, a policy buzzword, a way to avoid making judgment calls, a way to say this isn't our responsibility. It shifts the risk away from the system and onto the individual, even when the individual cannot bear it. That's why it feels wrong, because it is. The legal reality. Important. Legal autonomy is presumed at age 18. The law does not automatically adjust for intellectual disability, communication barriers, trauma vulnerability. So unless a court says otherwise, systems default to they have autonomy. And parents must prove incapacity while agencies assume capacity. That asymmetry is why you feel like you're shouting into the wind. Autonomy without the ability to report harm is not freedom, it's exposure. Respecting autonomy requires understanding a person's capacity before something goes wrong, not explaining it afterwards. Why I am not anti-anonymity. I'm not arguing against autonomy. I'm arguing for appropriate autonomy, which includes support, boundaries, prevention, family input, safeguards proportional to the vulnerability. That is not backwards. That is ethical care. Okay, so now that we all know what autonomy is, we sail on to the next video. Ahoy, mateys! See you next time.